These seats available?
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jambi. I'm from the Gidabal, Narakal, Minyabal people in the Northern Rivers. First of all, pay respect to the land here, the ancestors of this place. And after everything, the survivors from the tribes of this place, Durambal. Very few left. I've been in a room surrounded by activists and people who feel this earth. Very mindful we have the ability to hold this place into the future. I'm going to do something I'll call a connection to country. Some of you locals have probably heard it before, but if you haven't, just go along with it. So I ask you all to come into your heart and breathe deep. Allow all thought of everything outside of this moment to fade away. Allow yourselves to feel the presence of the ancestors here. That ancient, timeless energy, solid and strong. The energy of lifetime after lifetime of the same DNA codes lived here, in this place. With your heart, let them see who you are. Allow yourself to feel their stare as they look deep into your chest. Allow yourself to feel a shift as they turn their stare away. Now with your intention, let them see why you're here. Let your mind paint the picture for them to see. Now allow yourself to feel your ancestry. If you don't know them, then feel your blood Without judgment or expectation, let it tell you the story of the lands from where it came. Let it show you the mountains, the rivers, the oceans and the beaches, the people and the places of your original tribes. Now allow yourself to feel the last law man or law woman from your original tribes, the ones who still knew the old ways, practiced the old culture. Now allow yourself to feel as that ancestor places their hand on your shoulder. Now allow yourself to witness as your ancestor takes a step forward from you to meet the ancestors here. See them meeting in respect of the old ways, the old laws taught to us by the earth. Now allow yourself to witness as your ancestor takes a step back, takes their place at your shoulder once more. Let them know you're grateful for their presence in your life and you're open to their guidance. Let yourself feel the pride that they have for you. For you are the next step in your ancestry. Put here in this time, in this place, to take this next step. To heal your bloodlines and reconnect to the earth. Breathe deep. Just want to give my sincerest condolences to the family, and hope that the legacy that Adam leaves behind stays with us a long way into the future. Much respect.
Thanks, Tommy. And Bianca's just going to sing us in to begin.
I'm here today to sing this song. This is a special song called Sugar Man that I think was one of Adam's favourite, and Sharon would play it regularly for him. Sugar man, won't you hurry? 'Cause I'm tired of these scenes. For a blue coin, won't you bring back all the colors to my dreams? Silver magic ships you carry, jumpers, coke, sweet Mary Jane. Sugar man met a false friend on a lonely, dusty road. Lost my heart when I found it. It had turned to dead black coal. Silver magic ships you carry, jumpers, coke, sweet Mary Jane. Sugar man, you're the answer that makes my questions disappear. Sugar man, 'cause I'm weary of those double games I hear. Silver magic ships you carry, jumpers, coke, sweet Mary Jane. Sugar man, sugar man, sugar man.
I'd also just like to take a moment and give heartfelt thanks and gratitude to be here and with all of you here as a community. And I also want to bow to the old ones and the spirits of the future, the ones yet birthed that echo through the songlines of worlds to come. May we all tread far more mindfully than our forefathers and our mothers with our thoughts, our words, and our deeds. Taking deep care, remembering that we too are here but for a very brief moment before we travel on into the mystery. On behalf of Adam and his family, thank you. Your love, support, and messages have been deeply felt. My name is Hayley and I'm from Paperbark, and I come here, like you, as someone who has sat under many a tree, on the footpath in town, at the markets and all the events over the decades, always bearing witness, listening to a truth-seeking man who in this life followed his heart, being of service to something so much bigger than self. Adam was and will always be an icon in our community, who now has official legend status. Our Sea Shepherd man, the wide smile, wild hair and beard, eyes that saw through into the deeper parts with a gentle open heart, gracing us all with his passions, his loves, his wit. There are so many stories. What he managed to not only live through in this life, but what he crammed is probably that of numerous lives. When I sat down with Sharon the other day, something really stood out. Because we all know Adam and see him. And this colourful hippie shaking the tin, always on a mission to buy the next pirate ship. 5 days a week for 15 years straight. But you know, in fact, he wasn't really a hippie, but more a scruffy nonconformist. There is much to share on all the stages of Adam's long walk home. And family and friends are going to take us on a magic carpet ride back in time, and how the lasso was thrown to the northern rivers, opening up an entire new world. And you know, the bigger recesses of, I suppose I would say, a spirituality for Adam actually came from a death at a bite in these hills. I'm not going to share the full story, but I really hope someone who's speaking does. But how many people survive a death at a bite? His biggest trip of all. But seriously, if that isn't medicine for the soul, I don't know what is. And the reason I mention this is whilst he was journeying in that unconscious state and fevering through the venom, it grounded in a way some of his deepest beliefs. The sun, nature, consciousness, the finite, intricate web, that is God. All interconnected. Do no harm. I mean, not even a mozzie or a rambling weed would have its life taken. I felt guilty getting some of the greenery, having a snip going, ooh. And that's the reality of how he felt the world around him. And may we walk from here today a little more gentle with self, with other, and all living and dying things. And it was whales for Adam that he was in service to. The creature that has the most powerful electromagnetic field of all animals on the planet. Whale song has the power to change DNA. They're like ancient scrolls that travel this planet completely in tune with the seasons and mystery, traversing the horrors of what we humans have done to this planet. They are a symbol of peace, of compassion, and of communication, much like Adam. So may we salute this land whale who touched us all and continue his legacy of kindness and raising awareness to humanity as a whole and protect it in any way we can. And ultimately, it all comes down to love. And when we love someone, and I mean that deep soul love, it never dies. But we also meet ourselves in a place of questioning, of emotions that really take us on a wild ride and come to appreciate the smallest of things, wishing for one more moment, or simply to say, I love you and goodbye. It's love. And I have this poem I'd like to share with you before the greatest loves of this man's life come up and share their hearts with us. It's love. Love brought us here. Love bends our knees, breaks our backs, and snaps our hearts clean open. It's love. Love rising in our throats, our bellies, our minds. It's love. Love rising through your eyes, echoing in our voices and sleepless nights. It's love we're all huddling around. Love we're clutching close, and love we're testing as we swallow down hard. Because it's hard. This side of love is hard. And this side of love is sharp and unrelenting. This side of love is the flame no one ever wants to be consumed by. But we burn anyway, one flame at a time, one breath at a time. Love burns into love, becomes love, after love, after love, after love. So I would like to now, in love, invite Sam, Adam's brother, and Nicole to come and share the story. Oh, you're a similar height to me. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Sam Shostak, Adam's brother. I'm going to talk about Adam's early life. Our parents lived in Białystok, Poland, and I was almost 2 years old when he was born. We left Poland when the Second World War started in 1939, and we stayed in Russia, and Dad was summoned to the army. He was away for 8 years until the war was over, and then we came back to Poland. We were placed in a displaced persons camp and lived there for 3 years. Until a friend of Dad's in Melbourne sponsored us to come to Australia by boat. We arrived in Australia in 1950 and stayed in Białystok Centre for 1 year in one room until Mum and Dad saved and borrowed to buy a milk bar. Adam and I started school. It was difficult for us because we could not speak English. And of course we got teased a lot. We would come home from school and we used to help Mum and Dad in the shop, selling lollies to all the kids and putting stock in the shelves. I remember a customer came in and asked for cigarettes which were called turf cigarettes. And Mum said, "We haven't got turf, we've only got Craven A." And he said, "Oh, that'll do." And she said, "We haven't got that'll do." She didn't understand English very well. After a few years, we got into football. Adam was a great player. He played for Melbourne High School. They never lost a game for 2 years. What a great achievement that was. Then he was asked to play for Ajax Football Club, where he became a star. Soon after, he was invited to play for under-19s at the St Kilda Football Club, where he really performed really well. Adam also coached Ajax Seniors for 2 years. He was a strong competitor and loved playing in a team. Adam and I joined Habonim, which is a group for young teenagers, and we used to take turns to have parties at different places every Saturday. That's where he met the lovely Helen, and he was about 17 years old. They used to see each other all the time. Adam was madly in love with Helen. They got married when he was 23 and she was 21. They had 2 beautiful children, Daryl and Sharon. They were a dynamic couple, adventurous and sporty. We used to see each other a lot. Both kids would play with my two boys, Andrew and Stephen. Life had many twists and turns for Adam. It was very sad for me when Helen decided to leave Adam to take the kids to Mullumbimby. He was broken and it broke my heart. He decided to follow Helen and the children to Mullumbimby, and he loved the country life. He became a vegetarian. He hammered me to give up meat, which I did, and he made me think differently. Eventually he became involved with Sea Shepherd. Adam was very devoted to the whales and the sea life. And it was good to see that he could become a happy person again. It was a huge part of his life, and he will be remembered for this legacy. Adam and I kept in contact with each other for most of the time over the years. Over the last 3 years, it was once a week phone call discussing football, cricket, movies. He used to make me watch all these amazing movies. And of course we reminisced for hours about our lives when we were young and what we did. I will miss that greatly. I love you, Adam. Rest in peace.
The filmmaker in me just so wanted these photos to be up while you were talking. Oh, goodness me. Such a beautiful sea of faces. Thank you all for coming. I just wanted to start with acknowledgements and thanks on behalf of my brother Daryl and Ashi and I and all our kids, lots of us here. Thank you firstly to Kohenor Hall, to the committee for hosting us here. We live in a very special community and I feel very privileged to have grown up here. Thank you to Andy Bambach for generously gifting your time and equipment for the live stream. Thanks to Jambi for that beautiful welcome. And Jake, who's going to close the ceremony today. Special thanks to Jeff for coming all the way from WA. He's going to be speaking in a bit. Jeff Hansen from Sea Shepherd. Thank you, Hayley. And thank you, Bianca, for singing Adam's favourite songs. Thanks, Marianne, for she's put on an amazing spread for us. And Margaret, thank you for the flowers. Special mention to Babaloo, who's been looking after Adam's A-frame very lovingly these past years. So I'm going to continue the story of Adam. Just briefly mention the the snake bite, which isn't in my script here. So he was looking at land in Yukai and he was wearing thongs and the snake bit him but only got one fang in. So he did pass out and he did have quite a trip and woke up with a banging headache. But I really remember that time as Dad kind of transforming into this weirdo who was kind of spouting on about the sun god, yeah. And it was just like, who is this guy? I was a bit like, ugh. And then I started going out with this, with a young man. I guess I was 20 years old. Started dating this guy who just thought Adam was the bee's knees. And I suddenly saw him differently. But he was prone to kind of spout his latest theories, and that was one of his charms, for sure. Okay, so Dad followed my mum, Helen, up here in 1973. And she had bought a house down the hill from her sister Phyllis and Robert, who's now Canaan. Helen's crazy boyfriend burnt the house down in a fit of jealous rage, and she went off to stay with Roger, who then took on Daryl and I to live with him as well. Thank you, Roger. Mum had owned the house that burnt down, but not the land, and Dad was hanging around waiting for her to have her fun and come home. But she had moved on. So she gave the house site to Adam, and he cleared away the ashes and built his A-frame right there where the house had been. I remember my dad, a broken man after Mum left him, and very devastated by the loss of her. Going through all the beautiful photos of their time together, I've come to understand a bit more of how that might have been for him, and why he was not so able to pick himself up and be the father my brother and I might have wanted as children. In 1975, Adam met Mary Quain in Melbourne. She came back to live with him at the A-frame in 76. They had a passionate love affair, and the following year, Mary gave birth to Ashi. But their relationship didn't work out. Ashi grew up with Mary and Agus in Melbourne, seeing Adam very occasionally, though I have remained close with him and Mary. Another significant relationship was with Helen Landau, who Adam met in the early 80s and who shares a birthday with him. Helen says, "Adam was a lifesaver. When I met him, I was unwell, and with his love and care, he changed my whole being. We loved each other and had a special bond, living together, travelling and sharing the passion of yoga, cooking and family time for almost 10 years. He was an outstanding human being, and I'm so lucky he was part of my life and also my kids' lives. He really changed our way of thinking. To this day, we carry Adam's credo in one way or another. He lives forever in our hearts." And I seem to remember that credo included freshly squeezed orange juice every morning. In the mid-90s, Dad met Deborah Lou. She says she was blessed with 10 years of Adam's love and devotion in her life. She wrote, "Adam's patience, support, generosity and loving kindness towards me and my 2 teenage daughters in the face of intense challenges was inspiring and transformative for all of us. Although I didn't understand it at the time, I now know that Adam's great love for me was a beautiful reflection of my own unfulfilled potential for self-love." And the words of her daughter Zoe, "I love Adam. Daddy Addy is a very special man. His open-hearted, loving kindness, generosity, patience, and his ability to not get flustered no matter what had a big impact on me. He was a fantastic driving instructor, and he taught me a non-confrontational way to deal with my mother that I still use today." In these past years, Jo Saunders also brightened Dad's life with her devoted warmth and consistent phone calls. They met in 2013 via a shared passion for Sea Shepherd. And she says that the sheer drive and dedication that he held for making the world a better place while saving so many whales was truly awe-inspiring. Jo had to leave in 2019 to care for her ailing father, but she remained in close contact with Ad, as she loved to call him. She says, "Being someone's last love is an honour, and I would so love to hold your hand just one more time." It's been amazing to witness how my father has affected so many people, and to hear all the cute, funny, endearing stories they remember about him. Sometimes it's hard to reconcile the public person with the very private man that he was. He certainly had his own demons, and I guess being close to him sometimes he wasn't particularly patient with me. In fact, a grumpy bum at times. But this doesn't take away from the incredible man that everyone else perceives him to be. We all have shadows, and those of us that shine brightly may only show the shadow to those closest to us. So yes, it was a sign that I was very close to him. And more than this, I've come to realise that the inspiration he gave, in one way or another, to the people who met him out in the world is the essence of what remains. It doesn't matter who he was in his private life. Because he was also an amazing father to me. And in retrospect, I can see he was able to give me exactly what I needed when I needed it, which is a bit of a cliche, but it's true. When I was a child of 6 or 7, I had these walking nightmares. I would be screaming and crying while sleepwalking. And the only person I could let near me in that altered state was my father. I wasn't conscious at all, and I would eventually awaken out of the nightmare confused about what had happened and without any memory of it. My mum was always a bit miffed that I could only allow Dad near me in that state. When I was going to film school, he was working at his brother Sam's mirror factory, recycling old and out-of-line stock. I'd help him for half a day, getting the stock together, and then on Saturday mornings, I'd run the stall at the South Melbourne markets. So I always had to work for his support, I guess you could say, but he was one to reward my efforts, such as helping me buy equipment for my film work. When I was giving birth to my first daughter, Leela, on his A-frame veranda, I'd gotten to the final stage of pushing her out, and I was standing up in the birth pool trying to balance, and suddenly he appeared under my arm to support me. It was exactly what I needed, to be able to stand upright to push her out. So he saw exactly what I needed and he acted on it, and I didn't even know that I needed it. When I was building my house in Upper Maynarm, I recall him coming up from Melbourne and spending days stripping and sanding a huge second-hand staircase that I had just installed, all with a tiny Dremel hand sander, centimetre by centimetre, just relentlessly focused. When I was building my house in Upper Maynarm, he would occasionally send me chunks of money to help me finish a room or a veranda, since at that stage he was a very successful and sought-after yoga teacher in Melbourne. He also hired me to mosaic his new bathroom at the A-frame, giving me a chance to explore that medium in large scale. And he insisted on paying for my time. When I birthed my second daughter, Cherry, he was determined to be there as well, but she came out surprisingly fast. He still managed to catch the plane in time to share first cuddles with her. I started playing ukulele and writing songs about 7 years ago, and it was also a discovery of a new thing that we could share. Dad loved music, and his mother had grown up in a music shop and was an amazing pianist. I would turn up to visit Dad at his A-frame on my regular Tuesdays and Fridays, and he'd always say, "Have you got a new song?" And if I said no, he'd say, "Why not?" And if I did have a new song, he'd listen attentively and then ask to read the lyrics. Then he'd say, "Wow, who wrote this? Did you write this? This is profound." Or, "Everyone has to hear this." And it was weird because Dad and I often argued about perception and ways of seeing things, and he was quite often dismissive of my opinions. And yet, if I managed to frame it into a song, he was surprisingly open and appreciative of the same concept. He didn't like my opinions, but he loved my songs. I realise now that the fact I have so many songs is because of this constant expectation of a new one and the thrill of singing him a new creation. Also, having someone to sing to who takes the time to listen to is pretty rare and amazing, especially when you're starting out and might not sound so good. I can't believe he's not going to be around. It's so ironic that now he's gone, I realise what a big role he has played in my life. After he suffered prolapsed discs in his back and was fortunate to discover Steve Barry's yoga classes in Melbourne when he was 45, I was dragged along. Dad was a person who, when he discovered something he thought was amazing, he'd insist that it was amazing for you too. And he was often right. At first he took me along to Steve's classes and paid for my lessons, as I was a poor student at film school. I had sciatica and knee issues from my years as a gymnast, and it was exactly the therapy I needed for me to begin a healing journey of my own. Dad would reminisce that when he turned 50, his teacher, Stephen Barry, made him do 50 backbends in front of the whole class. Certainly a long way from the guy who had frozen knees and shoulders, dissolving discs, prolapse discs of the back and pain 24 hours a day. So we both ended up in Mullen, back in Mullen in the 90s, and after I started Ashtanga Yoga with Dina, he was physically healed enough to embrace it as well. And we would traipse along to her various intensives together throughout the Shire, doing 5 a.m. yoga for years. Adam took his passion for Ashtanga back to Melbourne and had many high-powered executive clients who benefited from his personal mix of remedial and Ashtanga-inspired routine, including, of course, famed sprinter Kathy Freeman, prior to her win at the Sydney Olympics in 2000. He helped so many people heal so many different ailments and had an incredible intelligence and fluidity of knowledge about the body, avidly studying anatomy in his spare time. One such success story was a guy who came to him quite disabled by knee problems, who he worked with and helped devise a routine for. He heard nothing from the guy for a few years, but then was thrilled to receive a phone call from him as he traversed the Great Wall of China, unencumbered by knee issues. I often thought what an incredible skill set Adam had devised with his stretching and strengthening routines and knowledge, and that if only he'd been more of a trumpeter about it, he might have been able to spread this knowledge as some sort of system to help many more people. People deserve to be able to access that knowledge, but alas, he was too humble and was content to share it only with those who found their way to him. I remember one time I had persistent back pain even though I was doing all the yoga moves and strengthenings. I asked his advice and he went through all the stretches I was doing, and then he concluded, "Stretch your calf muscles." And hey presto, the back pain vanished. So he deeply understood the connection of disparate parts of the body and the importance of the foundational muscles from his own undoing of his disabilities. Many will remember his teachings at Mullen's first yoga studio, which we opened together, his remedial and dynamic classes, as well as prenatal. When Mullen Yoga Studio morphed into the Yellow Church Yoga Centre after we were both separately away, I was having a baby, then caring for my dying mother, and he was caring for his own mother, he transferred his teachings to the A-frame in a purpose-built, enormous yoga room that could house up to 20 people, and did, in its heyday. When I moved him to a self-contained studio about 2.5 years ago under my house in Mullen, I made sure there was space to continue the stretching. He would insist, "It's not yoga, it's stretching." And the last few of us were stretching with him right up until his last week. Steph, Sue, Malcolm and Margaret and myself. The very last time he stretched, he could barely walk and had decided that he just couldn't do it. But he saw us getting ready to do our routine and suddenly said, "I'll join in the fun," slowly coming over to the chair and doing his reduced version. We certainly didn't expect him to pass so quickly after I took him to hospital. For me, it's been the loss not only of a father, but also a friend, as well as a dependent. I miss coming home and popping into his flat, his big smile when he sees me like the sun has just turned on, regardless of the time of day or night. He was always awake at night and slept during the day. In his last few years, he was obsessed with watching documentaries about the Second World War, and he would sit and weep in his chair, inflicting it on himself over and over, trying to understand his own history. Then he researched other wars. Then he would realise what he was doing to himself and discovered comedy series like The Big Bang Theory. Then he would switch it all off and just blare out rock and roll and Leonard Cohen. He would often write bits and pieces down on paper, like cooking recipes, or record his solitaire scores religiously in a pad in his drawer. He reflected once that he would have liked to be an accountant, and he'd always been fascinated by the concept of gambling systems. His most recent thrill was to bet $1 per game on who would win the footy. when Dad passed away, and I was going through his stuff, I discovered that he'd ripped out the many, many pages of numbers, and all that was left were some pages of numbered jokes that he'd copied from the internet. So I'm going to finish on a selection of these jokes that we all decided really fit when we think of him. So number 15, the older I get, the better I used to be. Number 12, don't let aging get you down. It's too hard to get up again. Number 13, you can live to be 100 if you give up all the things that make you want to live to be 100. And finally, number 10, it's paradoxical that the idea of living a long life appeals to everyone, but the idea of getting old doesn't appeal to anyone. Thank you, everybody.
I'd just like to say thanks, everyone.
Kara's going to sing for us.
Hi everyone. For those of you that know me, hi, nice to see you all. And for those of you that don't, my name is Cara. I am Daryl's stepdaughter. I've been a part of the Shostak family since I was 2 years old, and Zeta has been my only consistent grandfather in my life. And I thought I would share, if I can manage, this song that I wrote for him and for you. What is it that you know? Potatoes and backgammon are some things I can name that you loved, yeah, you really loved a game. You fought with your words, you fought for the seas, you inspired everyone, you inspired me. Now you're free. Zaida. Like telling us how it was, and you hated aging. Although you sweetened all the time, you never stopped opinionating. You told stories of the war, stories of your past. You riddled with reality until your very last. Swimming in the sea, with the whales. Now you're free. Zaida. Zaida. You can sing with me if you like. Swimming in the sea, with the whales. Now you're free. Zaida. Zaida. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Can I move this slightly? Yeah, we're just going to do that. Yeah, I will. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Leela. I am Adam's eldest grandchild. And Adam was my grandfather, my Zeta, which is grandfather in Yiddish. I remember when I was young, everyone would call Adam Zeta, and I always had to explain, no, he's not your Zeta, he's my Zeta. His name is Adam. My grandfather, my Zeta, is an extra special man. And I'm sure I don't need to convince anyone that is here today of that. But what I would like to do is share a few memories and moments that I have. My Zeta has been there for me my whole life. Like, seriously. When I think of home, he's a really big part of that image. I was born in his house, more on his veranda, as you heard. And when I was a baby, he would look after me for a few hours to let my mum have a break. And she'd always come home and find me fast asleep on his furry, hairy chest and him happily snoring along. He was my biggest fan and my biggest supporter. And when I was 12, I decided that I was going to become a professional ice skater. Like, it definitely happened. But Zeta would pick me up every Sunday morning at 5 a.m. and we would drive all the way up to Burleigh Heads. It took like 2 hours back then, just so I could go to my ice skating lessons. And then he would sit in the cold bleachers for 2 hours, smiling and waving at me every time I did the loop. But that Sunday tradition has stayed strong, and it later transformed into the Sunday Sea Shepherd's market stall. We shared a family dog. His name was Eco. He was a loyal, ball-obsessed, loved the beach dog. And soon didn't become my dog, but actually became Adam's dog, and was also recruited as a Sea Shepherd volunteer. You guys probably remember him underneath the balcony, maybe asleep underneath the Sea Shepherd table there. His love for animals was so immense, and he loved dogs. He would whistle them over in the street and give them loving pats and cuddles. He was the very proud dog dad of Cookie, who you never saw not wearing a Sea Shepherd shirt. But I really think that animals saw an ally in Adam. His cat Sweetie was a wild bush stray, probably not far off from what Adam was as well. And she was the one that decided that Adam would be hers and moved in. He was also... Sorry, I've just been ad-libbing a little bit. Zeta was also the grandfather of my dog, or should I say the Zeta of my dog, and was, and I think that Zeta was maybe in love with Miso as much as I was. Often we would go and visit him and we'd find Miso curled up on his lap, him patting him. Miso also would always sneak bits of Zeta's food. Adam would put a little bit of honey on his spoon and sneak it to him, or a little bit of his soup. We were talking about best friends really recently, because I was talking about how my best friends and me, and we're all having babies at the same time, and Adam said, I think Miso is my best friend. And I think that if Miso could talk, he would say the same thing. Adam has guided and supported me in so many ways, inspired me to be a vegetarian for many years and supported my studies. He actually paid for my postgraduate when I was living in Spain and encouraged my travels. Since leaving school, every time I would come home, I knew that I would be busy on a Sunday. Why? Well, we had whales to save and a Sea Shepherd stall to run. Look, honestly, if I wanted to spend time with my grandfather, I had to volunteer for Sea Shepherd. It was the best and probably only way to spend quality time with him. But oh, did I get to spend some extra quality time with him during those stalls. The Sea Shepherd stall was his home. It's where he met and formed an extra special and passionate community of animal activists and radical warriors and incredible people that I have been able to share my life with as well. I see so many of you here today, and I also know that his reach with Sea Shepherd and building that home and community was far beyond the Northern Rivers and people that could make it here today, and I know there's a lot of people joining online. A few years ago, Mum and I had a chat. It was about the fact that Zeta was getting a little bit older, and though we had a few years left, or many years we hoped, he just wasn't going to be his energetic self anymore. And that was a massive contributor to why I ended up moving home and coming back to the Northern Rivers. At the time, Adam was 80. And when I returned, to my surprise, Adam wasn't doing Sea Shepherd stalls anymore. Sheila Rose had taken on the captain's hat and was leading the Byron chapter. But when I returned, to my surprise, Adam found it in himself, again, to continue doing stalls. And for almost the next year, almost a full year after that, up until 81, he did 2 stalls a week. He would pick me up at 6 a.m. down on the road in the van. Oh, the van. It was so stinky. Every week we'd have to put every month, let's say, we'd have to get it fixed. I remember I was driving back once and the spare wheel in those old vans is underneath the car. It fell off and we had to get it back in anyway, it was a whole thing. The van, I think, is a character of its own. The Sunday markets of the Shannon were definitely my favourite. And it wasn't because of the early mornings, which I can't believe he did for so long. It was actually the drive. He would come and pick me up at about 5 a.m. in the van, and it would take us an hour or more to get all the way to the Shannon. The van would only do 50 or 60k up those winding roads up the mountain. We'd have a hot coffee and an almond croissant in hand, and the windows would be open and Adam would be whistling a tune or smoking a filterless cigarette. He shook the Sea Shepherd tin for so many years, determined and sometimes getting in trouble. I say trouble because neighbouring stallholders would complain that we were stealing all of their customers. It didn't stop him from shaking the tin. I'm just going to grab a little bit of water. Here we are, we're at the stalls. One of the last stalls that we did together was the Byron Beachfront Market. It was actually February the 2nd, 2020. We were the charity of the month that time. And so we actually had permission, because we hadn't been doing it before, to shake the tin as loudly as we possibly could. Adam, 81 at this time, was sitting in the full summer sun for over 7 hours that day, shaking the tin. And can I tell you that he was grumpy and tired that afternoon? But he was so proud of the over $800 we made from that tin alone. He would go on and on about the power of the gold coin, the importance of shaking the tin, and emphasising the impact that just such a small amount of change can make. If everyone puts in $1, that's a lot of money raised. These coins, he would say, these coins are fueling our ships. Every little bit counts. Once he had stopped the stalls, I continued doing them for close to 3 years. When I would get home, the first thing he would ask was, "Who shook the tin today?" I always saved the banking for him to do, and especially the counting of the donation tin. He was obsessed with finding new ways to raise money, such an entrepreneur. And I'm a crafter, so I make lots of different things. And every time I would show him something, he would say, honestly, "Do you think we could write Sea Shepherd on it and sell it on stall?" And the Sea Shepherd stickers. Ah, the stickers. He would come up with little slogans and then get 1,000 stickers printed. And then he would literally test the market out at the market. He'd give them out, gauging people's responses, seeing which ones were the hits and which ones weren't. And the most important person to give a sticker to, it was the kids. He always found time for the children. And he would captivate the activist in them, telling them stories of fast boats, pirates, and saving whales, knowing that they were the future. We've been approached by many people telling us stories of how they would busk or raise money and then donate it to the Sea Shepherd stall in Byron. And I think the impact that Adam and the Byron crew had on the young people of this area is immense. He was a passionate, moody, cheeky, grumpy, righteous man. And he was the most important masculine figure in my life. I would visit Zeta weekly, and depending on his mood, I would stay for 2 minutes or a couple of hours. Often, I would sit with Zeta. I would sit on his couch that was next to where he sat in his seat in front of his TV. And I have just had a baby who's 11 months old and probably making a racket around the place. I would sit with my son, Koa, and he would be patting my dog Miso or feeding him some treats or some secret honey. And he'd ruminate about the fact that he never knew his grandparents, let alone his great-grandparents. And I'm so happy that my son, Koa, got to spend time with my grandfather. Koa would light up at the way that Zeta would clap his hams or shake the maraca. The egg. My son loved my grandfather's prickly beard, but most of all, he loved his sea shepherd hat. There was always a permanent fixture on his head. He would grab it and play with it and suck on it. It's these memories that I'm going to be sharing with my son when he asks about his great-grandfather. There's lots of little legacy memories too. Like the way every time I'd call him, he'd answer in "Wie geht's? Hallo?" Make me practice my German. Or the grin, Mum mentioned it, kind of like the sun had just turned on when you'd open the door and he wasn't expecting you to be there. His nickname for me, Lali or Lalkale. He'd ask when you visit, "Do you want a coffee?" And I would respond, "Do you want me to make you a coffee?" "Oh, yes, please." I always think about the way that first sip of his piping hot coffee would hit the same every time, and he would remark about how delicious it was and how that was the best coffee that he had ever had. Yeah, he only drank decaf. So it wasn't very good, but it was the best. Cara mentioned it in her song. We have a few family legacy memories around latkes and potatoes and many stories that come with that. And I think every time I play backgammon, I will think of him. The way he says, "Lovers leap," and things like that. The suggestion of cake would always light up Adam's eyes. Could never be a cookie or a brownie, it had to be cake. I'll always remember yoga days where we'd all be chatting along while we stretched, and he would scold us for not stretching and chatting too much, and then all of a sudden the topic interests him and he starts chatting. I don't think I've ever been to a yoga class where they're like playing rock and roll hits while you're stretching either, or like Adele or Amy Winehouse, like singing along, stretching, listening to these like awesome bangers. It's a pretty unique experience. I also have a big legacy memory around the St Kilda Football Club. I can't reference properly whether they play AFL or rugby or that, but if someone asks me what my club is, I say, "Oh, it's St Kilda. It's St Kilda." I know that everyone in this room has memories of Adam, whether it be the activist or the neighbour, the ranter, the 9-letter word player, the coffee shop goer, the yogi, the grump, the backgammon player, the friend, the storyteller, the activist, the sport fanatic, the guru, or just the man on the street shaking the tin. I hope you hold all of those memories. I just turned 30, just 9 days before Adam passed, and in his birthday card to me he wrote, "I'm honoured to be your grandfather, but I think I'm truly the one that holds that honour." Thank you so much for coming here today.
Jeff, would you like to come share some words?
I should be right. Just lean down a bit. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, well, my name's Jeff Hanson. I'm the Managing Director of Sea Shepherd Australia. And firstly, thank you, Jambi, for that connection to country. It's great to see you again, Jambi. And to Adam's family, thank you for the honour of speaking here today and talking a bit more about what Adam meant to us. But it's been beautiful to hear your stories and sharing his life, and really reinforces why we thought he was such a special human being. And it's a real privilege to share this day with you. And also, thank you for sharing what Adam meant to you all, but also he meant a great deal to us as well. And it's an honour to be here today. I'm going to start off with, for those that may not have heard, some tribute from Peter Hammerstead, who's a very dear friend of Adam's as well. And Peter, dearly loved Adam and is sorry he can't be here today. But I think it's worth sharing those words for those that haven't heard what Peter wrote about Adam. Peter's one of our captains and been involved with the organisation for over 20 years. And has led some amazing campaigns for the oceans. Sea Shepherd leader, Byron Bay icon and master of whale conservation in the Byron Shire, Australia, Adam Shostak, passed away last Wednesday. Adam embraced the hippie lifestyle, embroidering the counter-culture ethos while establishing Sea Shepherd as a dominant cultural force in Byron Bay and the hinterland. There is no place in the world where the Sea Shepherd logo is as ambiguous as it is in Byron Shire, where Sea Shepherd flags and stickers adorn cars and storefronts like battle banners for the anti-whaling cause, and where Sea Shepherd shirts are a regimental of sorts. It was Adam who personally tie-dyed by hand many of these Sea Shepherd shirts in the back of his upper main arm valley home. If the Byron Shire was a ship in the Sea Shepherd movement, it would have been a flagship and Adam would have been as its captain. For the whales who frequent the shores of New South Wales, Adam was truly their ambassador. There are dozens and dozens of places in the world, from Australia to Europe to the United States, where I've travelled, as in Peter, and been stopped wearing a Sea Shepherd shirt, and upon asking where the supporter first heard about our work for the ocean, being told that while they were travelling through Byron Bay on holiday, a hippie handed them a sticker and talked to them about whaling. I'd show them a photograph of Adam and they'd light up, and then, somewhat surprised, exclaim, "That was the guy." Adam was our guy. He was a whale guy and he was a Sea Shepherd guy through and through. While the Sea Shepherd ships were out to sea, Adam was shaking a tin and collecting $1 and $2 gold coin donations to fund the next Sea Shepherd mission, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for whale conservation on the streets of Byron Bay and the markets of Mulham. He did so almost every day for 15 years. The Byron Shire sailed with Sea Shepherd on every campaign because Adam was at the helm. Earlier this year, Adam and I stood underneath the trusty lantern of the Cape Byron Lighthouse and watched as the Sea Shepherd ship Alan Kay motored past the easternmost point of Australia, of the Australian mainland, headed north. Adam had seen many Sea Shepherd ships pass by his home. The captain of each ship would navigate close to the shore so Adam could see it. Oftentimes the ships were headed south to defend whales in the Southern Ocean whale sanctuary. Now, with whaling ended in the Antarctic, they were headed north to confront poachers in the South Pacific. The battlefronts changed, but on the headland, Adam remained a sentinel. His light, never dim, was the constant that kept the ships at sea. Adam was my constant, a dear, dear friend who I loved, who was a perpetual reminder of the passion on land that allowed Sea Shepherd crews to save over 6,000 whales through 15 years of campaigning down the Antarctic. On the 22nd of December, the Shostak family is honouring Adam. That's where we are today. How wondrous, beautiful and rare that the words chosen to describe the dress code, being cheerful and colourful, for the celebration of Adam's life would have also been used to describe Adam Shostak by those lucky enough to have known him. I'm Peter Hammerstead. So you can see he definitely had a global impact, not just here, but the ripples went right across our globe for this planet. And I think Layla mentioned the Shannon markets to remind me that I got to go to the Shannon markets with Adam and standing there at the stall and saw in amongst so many people there, he singled out one little girl and walked over to her with a whale tail and sat down with her and told her the story of the whale and presented her with this gift. And he made this little girl feel like she was the most important person in all of the Shannon markets. And that was a gift that he had, to be able to, live in the moment, to be present. And I think very few of us, many of us have lost that ability. And I also love the fact that, wearing this particular item, the tie-dye top, which was known as pirate merchandise because it wasn't approved by head office. It was Adam's idea, and he and another fellow, Lewis Bell, who used to run our Fremantle chapter. I've come over from Fremantle. And Louis would also, behind the scenes, get on the phone, and him and Adam would talk about their mischievous ways and conspire about things that they could do, new merchandise ideas to go against the wishes of head office. But it was fantastic because Louis had the stubby holder and Adam, among other things, had the tie-dyed T-shirt. And both the tie-dyed T-shirt and the stubby holder went on to be our best sellers. So once again, testing the market here. And I love, as you mentioned before, just the cheekiness of that. We'll just get on with the job that needs to be done. We'll make this merchandise. We'll test the markets here. And it's now one of our best sellers. So I think that's just a beautiful story, that the smartness and intelligence and the cheekiness of Adam. And yes, Sea Shepherd is a marine conservation organisation, but the actual work that we do only takes us so far. The clients that we represent, the whales, the dolphins, that only takes us so far. The outcomes, the work that we do only takes us so far. Because at the end of the day, it's a movement of people, and it's the relationships, the people coming down to the stall in Byron to spend time with Adam, to get to know him, where he's probably helped people through their ups and downs in life, but build those relationships, those friendships. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't have the work that we achieve. And that's very much when you look at what is the culture of Sea Shepherd. It's people like Adam. The reason I've come across is because it's Adam. It's Adam Shostak. Of course we're here. Of course we're here to honour this man's life, to thank him for all the work that he's done. But when you think about the culture of Sea Shepherd, it's Adam Shostak. It's as simple as that. And I remember, the thing that really blew me away once, when, and I've heard a lot of stories today, but, Adam one time organised for me to speak at the Melbourne High School, and it turned out that, Adam went there, and it's not a school that anyone can go to. You have to be selected to go there. And it's a school that's very prestigious in Melbourne, very much, culture, very much in custom, tradition. And here I am at this school, up on this huge auditorium and this platform. Everyone's in a suit and tie, all these, ceremonial things. I went, Adam went here? But it just shows the person that was here, very much connected to the natural world, very smart, intelligent, cheeky, full of love. He gave so much to Sea Shepherd, to the whales, but to each one of us. And he left the world in a far better place. It's as simple as that. And the legacy will continue. in all our hearts and minds, the work we do, the people we are today. He leaves this world, but he remains in our hearts and minds. And we are all so much far better people for of knowing him. And how many people on this world can say that? And many of us live our lives, but how many of us truly live? And you just look at that picture there. That is a human being, a beautiful soul that truly lived and touched us all. So thank you.
Okay, where's Jake? Can you come forward for a prayer, please? Jake?
My name is Jake. I'm a good friend of Adam's. Always have been. From the beginning. Adam is an inspiration. And an activist. And a father. We used to play backgammon quite often. And he had his ways of irritating me. And I him. So we would enjoy our games. Right up to the time of our last game, which was about 2 weeks before he passed, he was very present. I would like to say a prayer for him. Could you please stand up? Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei rabba ba'almadi beracha kuruseh v'yamlich malchutay b'chai yechon u'b'v'yon yechon u'b'chai כל בית ישראל בעלנה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולמיה. יתברך וישתבח וישפאר וישרמם וישנשא וישנחדר ויתעלה ויתחלל שמי רבה דקודשו ברוך הוא לעלה מן כל ברחמתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה די אמרים בעלמי מוישו ואמרו אמן. יהי שם אדוני מברך עתה ועד עולם. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וכולם ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרמיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל וכולם ואמרו אמן.
Thank you, everyone. I was just sitting there thinking about the backgammon and how many. Yeah, the board is here, and I was just thinking, it's this time of year for us too. We're all slowing down and able to have some time off, and we've got some candles here at the front, but due to the wind and then the fans, it's probably not going to work for us to have that ritual. But I'd like to invite you before you leave to please take one of these candles home and light it over these days and dust off your backgammon board and have a game for Adam. Yeah. And also before you leave today, just go past that stall out there and have a shake of the tin and put a gold coin in there or get some merch if you haven't. Otherwise he's going to come and haunt you. Yeah. So, Adam's legacy and memories will continue to carve our hearts. Speak with him. Seek his counsel, his wisdom and his love always. He'll be listening, like the whales and the sun. And you know, we don't actually love with our hearts and our minds. We truly love with our soul, our spirit, so that when our minds forget and our hearts stop, it's forever. That mysterious, solar-powered energy each of us have housed in these skin suits. We are all united in the sameness of our makeup. We are made of stars and the dust and the microbes, the earth in our bones and the atmosphere is in our lungs. We are an integral, living expression of the landscape, and the harsh reality is nature, just like love and grief is equal parts brutal and beautiful. So when death comes to pass, we meet ourselves and the in-between realms, opening a door to communing with the tidal pools from the moon and the warmth of the sun, revealing to us every day nothing stays the same. Impermanence and seasons are the only constant, asking us to continually let go so that we might access what it is to fully live in surrender to the big, big loves and the immense losses and everything in between. It's just been the solstice. We're actually still in the window of the third day. So it's really timely that we celebrate, honour and salute this man in the sun's full glory. Please outstretch your hand to your neighbour so that we're all holding in full connection to carry us on our walk home. We're all on our way, and time, it's really precious. So to you, Adam, even though your physical body has gone from us to a new becoming, we thank you for all of it. The lands will always speak to us of you. The trees will mention your name, but none more so. The ocean will sing of you, always reminding us that you had a certain way of being that we will carry. We enter this life with an inhale and we exit with an exhale. Take deep care, everyone. Do the thing, say the thing, and be the thing that sets your heart on fire. Always, and don't waste a precious moment. And here's to a loving pirate's life. And Bianca is going to take us out, dancing us to the end of love. Please stay, eat some food, have a drink and share the memories. Much love.
Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Lift me like an olive branch and be my homeward dove. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. Let me see your beauty when the witnesses are gone. Let me feel you moving like they do in Babylon. Show me slowly what I only know the limits of. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. La 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 Dance me to the wedding now. Dance me on and on. Dance me very tenderly and dance me very long. We're both of us beneath our love, we're both of us above. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the children who are asking to be born. Dance me through the curtains that our kisses have outworn. Raise a tent of shelter now, though every thread is torn. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. La 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 Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Touch me with your naked hand or touch me with your glove. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love.